Welcome, ladies and gents. Ike Perlmutter has come out and done a very rare interview where he just lays bare the situation, in fact. He says that the dismissal was not part of the sort of cost-cutting elements. He said that Disney fired him from Marvel. He wasn't laid off. So it wasn't about the cost-cutting elements. It was because he talks back. He pushes them. He cares about the bottom line. This is one on a long line of things that Disney really actually can't afford to have at this point in time. The annual shareholders meeting was a shit show for Bob Iger. He made him look an absolute fool. I'll leave a video link to that above. We literally have clips from the shareholder call-in where they obliterate Bob Iger. And now this is going to do even worse against Bob Iger and Disney just in general. And it's bad for a few reasons, because Ike Perlmutter is the sole, singular, largest owner, individual of Disney stocks. This is huge, or Disney shares. This is huge that he's happy to just come out and lambast them. You know, he was actually the reason for the proxy war that was happening, vying for power within Disney. This is a massive turn of events. Hit subscribe if you're new here and you want to step to date on the world of pop culture, movie news, movie reviews, and, you know, industry stuff like this, because this is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. So Ike Perlmutter says Walt Disney Company fired him as chairman of Marvel Entertainment because he pushed Disney too aggressively to cut costs and run afoul of the creative executives whom newly returned Chief Executive Bob Iger wants to empower. It's all to do with the bottom line. He expresses how he cares about the bottom line, and all they care about is Hollywood box office receipts. So in a rare interview, the 80-year-old Mr. Perlmutter spoke to the Wall Street Journal about his dismissal from Disney last week and his relationship with Mr. Iger and the missteps he feels Disney has made in recent years. Again, remember, this is the singularly largest shareholder. So, as just a sole individual, by the way. It's like 30 million shares, about $3 billion worth. Fucking insane. Disney is legendary for the loyalty it engenders in most employees, but Mr. Perlmutter was no typical corporate employee. He actually sold Marvel to Disney, nor did he act like one. If he didn't like what he saw from leadership, he picked up the phone and aired his concerns to powerful allies like former CEO Bob Chapek and activist investor Nelson Peltz. He was behind, essentially, trying to overthrow Bob Iger. So when Disney was battling... This is the great stuff. When Disney was battling with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Mr. Perlmutter said he called him too. Ron, you're right. Disney doesn't have the right to get involved with politics. I mean, he's right, yeah. I mean, they do have a right to get involved, but it's not good from a business perspective. Mr. Perlmutter, who is also one of Disney's largest individual shareholders, he owns approximately 30 million shares of Disney, according to people close to him, worth about $3 billion. Said he has tried for years to convince Disney to spend less on its Marvel Studios superhero movies, which he believes... Check this out. I have no doubt that my termination was based on fundamental differences in business between my thinking and Disney leadership, because I care about return on investment. Guys, if this guy is saying this, this is pretty huge stuff. It's just parroting what we've all been saying for a while. Disney executives and Marvel Studios leadership, he said, have a singular focus on ticket sales. Marvel superhero movies distributed by Disney have grossed more than $23 billion globally, making it one of the most successful franchises in Hollywood history, just in overall numbers. But this is where he separates it. All they talk about is box office, box office. I care about the bottom line. I don't care how big the box office is. Only people in Hollywood talk about box office. He's just a businessman. Is it actually making money? And they've not been making money recently, guys. Not at all. So as chairman of Disney's separate Marvel Entertainment, Mr. Perlmutter ran the much smaller comic book publishing and merchandise licensing businesses. A Disney representative said Tuesday that Horacio Gutierrez, Disney's general counsel, called Mr. Perlmutter and told him that his job was being terminated as part of the company's broader effort to cut $5.5 billion from its content and administrative budgets and eliminate 7,000 jobs. But he literally just goes, yeah, I don't remember Mr. Gutierrez giving that rationale for his dismissal. Literally, no, that's not the case. They're lying to you. It was merely a convenient excuse to get rid of a long-time executive who dared to challenge the company's way of doing business. This is pretty crazy, guys. This is like... I think, honestly, Mr. Nelson Peltz might come involved again. Last summer, Mr. Perlmutter said he found an ally in his crusade to cut Disney's spending in Mr. Peltz, a well-known corporate raider turned activist investor who in December launched a proxy battle against Disney. Two men who own mansions near one another in Palm Beach, Florida, yeah, it's Florida, I think, had been friends for years and regularly dined together with their wives. Although not formally involved with Mr. Peltz's campaign, Mr. Perlmutter called Disney directors and lobbied them to add Mr. Peltz to the board. Mr. Perlmutter said he took the step of joining an activist campaign against his own company because Disney executives had proven unreceptive to his suggestions. Because they forget that shareholders are actually part of the business. My experience with any major corporation, when they're having problems and they don't have the free cash or whatever it is, usually people like Nelson Peltz know how to put it back on track. I learned one thing about creative people my whole life. You cannot give them an open credit card. They're doing this for 30 years. Why would they change? He's not someone you fuck with. Morton Handel, who served as chairman of Marvel Entertainment before the Disney acquisition, and has known Mr. Perlmutter for 45 years, said Perlmutter and Peltz share a passion for efficiency. Ike's a penny pincher. It's irritating to some people, and there are people who don't believe in that manner of running a business. But in my own experience, I have never come across a more effective manager than Ike Perlmutter. This is crazy. This is really, really quite out there. The fact that he literally says, Mr. Perlmutter said he advised these executives, don't get involved in politics. You're going to get hurt. It's a no-win situation. And it's true, because the moment you get involved in politics, you disenfranchise one side or the other. It's literally a no-win situation. It's not a win situation. Not good. It's not good at all. So Mr. Iger said Mr. Perlmutter was intent on firing Kevin Feige. And I thought that was a mistake. This is about this. There's so many weird disagreements that happened. But Perlmutter is a guy that, if you're looking to save money, you actually keep him on board. You genuinely do. There was no way to force the issue because the creative people at Walt Disney Company are very powerful. This is hilarious as well. So in 2017, Mr. Perlmutter and his wife donated $5 million to NYU Langone Health, a gift that allowed the New York City Medical Center to recruit one of the nation's top cosmetic plastic surgeons specializing in gender transition procedures. He said he later called Disney's Human Resources Department and offered to pay any costs of gender transition surgery that aren't covered by insurance for any Disney employees. So he's not a complete arsehole. He said, I called and said if anyone would like to change their sex, my professor is the #1 in the country. They should call me and I'll help them to make an appointment. So he's not a complete arsehole either, like, for people that are like, oh, he's just full on, right wing and stuff like that. Wow. The fact that he's come out and said all of this stuff is crazy. This is going to do terrible stuff for Disney stocks. Like, really, really, really bad for Disney stocks. I mean, you can kind of see it there a little bit. Not great. Just the fact that he's like, yeah, no, they're lying to you. Oh, dear.